Ladies and gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen. First things first, before we get into today's video, make sure you guys like, share, comment, and subscribe because the good doc is about to take on the political behemoth, the elephant in the room that I have yet to address about what's going on in the Philippines between none other than President Marcos and we'll just say the Duterte family in general. Now, before I begin, I want you guys to understand two things. Number one, foreigners have no real say-so in Philippine politics unless you are a citizen of said country or you've got citizenship, dual citizenship, and voting power. I do believe that all foreigner opinions should just remain opinions. And that's exactly what this is today, an opinion piece in reference to what this feud means for foreigners in the Philippines going forward. Okay. And the second thing, you guys know I am Davao to my soul. What does that mean, ladies and gentlemen? That is where I am born and bred. That is where my heart is. So I will not lie to you. I'm not going to sit here and say that I share favoritism to the Duterte family, but I will say this. The entire time I was there, I felt safe. Right? It is what it is, right? And I do believe that that came as a result of the way that this man, ruled the city as his time as mayor. A lot of people have differing opinions about the way Duterte ran the country as a president. It is what it is. That is not what we're getting in today. What we are going to get into is this particular news article that I came across that I think is going to kind of give a little bit of backstory as to why the Dutertes and the Marcoses have this feud that is brewing, and again, what it means for foreigners and what's really going on. And what we'll probably learn in this particular video was how power, money, and all of the above could lead to dissension amongst families that were once on the same page. All right. So let me go ahead and share my screen with you guys real quick because I think that it is noteworthy for you guys to be able to read what it is that we got going on here. All right. Just give me uno momento. Chrome tab. All right. We're going to share my screen. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I hope that you can see it. Let me make sure that I'm good. I don't like the way that's set up. Let me do it this way. All right, so Good Doc is small. That screen is big. All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is a story that I think kind of captures everything in the essence of what's really going on in the Philippines. Most of you guys may not care about the politics, but I do believe that, the way that the country is ran and the way that it's going definitely will have an effect on how foreigners choose to travel or whether they choose to travel in the future. So this one comes courtesy of, I think that's Nikkei, excuse me, Asia. And basically the article starts off by saying, this is the Marco Duterte rift escalates over Philippines constitutional changes. Now, I do not plan to go through every single word of this particular article. I will do a speed read and stop when necessary. Okay. So this article is written by none other than Raymond. Shout out to Raymond over at the Asia staff writer, and this article was produced, guys, on February 2nd. All right, so let's go through the nitty-gritty of what it all is going on. All right, so relationships between the Philippines' two most influential political clans, the Marcoses and the Dutertes, are fraying as tensions over constitutional changes erupt in a public feud. Adding to the rancor are long simmering disputes over discretionary funds and disagreements over political agendas. The tensions demonstrate how political alliances in the Philippines tend to be short-lived, often struck simply for politicians to consolidate support ahead of elections. Political dynasties, with all of their money, influence, and grassroots support, hold power in shaping who become president. Okay, so basically, we're talking about where the feud seems to stem from. It deals with money. We'll get to the money part in a second, but one thing that was interesting is you do understand that a lot of these political alliances are short-lived. They are short-term, right? Please, my Filipino people, forgive me, but I do not remember who was president. No, I do remember. Why am I stupid? Anyways, I'm sorry. But if you guys remember, the way that the Philippine politics is set up, the election for the president and the election for the vice president is separate, not like it is in the United States, right? Where if you vote for President Biden or, Trump coming up in the election, Trump's team's going to win. It don't have nothing to do with his VP. It's Trump and whoever he chooses to be a running mate. Or if Biden wins, it's going to be Biden and Harris again, right? But in the Philippines, you vote separately. You vote for the president and you vote for the vice president. And one example of how, political parties were, divided was, the last 6 years of the presidency, where the president was Rodrigo Duterte and then the VP was Lenny Robredo. Yeah. And they represented two different political parties, right? Two different political parties, two different political stances. So, regardless of how you voted, chances are your president, if you voted for your president might win, but it doesn't necessarily mean your VP is going to win. But in this case, it looks like the political parties that were, collaborating at this point, which were the Marcos and the Dutertes, they seem to have both won. All right, so let's go ahead and see what's going on with the Monies, because this is where things start to get a little interesting and start to tickle the good doc's pickle. All right, the discord began with President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. administration slashing Vice President Sara Duterte's confidential budget. This followed media reports last year detailing her spending of roughly $2.2 million in just 11 days in her early term. Ladies and gentlemen, baby girl spent $2.2 million. That's a lot of pesos in 11 days. And because this was discretionary funds, basically what that means, and we'll outline that later on in the article, is that they don't have to report to, or they are not required to be audited for the money that they spend. When it's discretionary funding, basically that means you can spend that money how you choose to. There's no political oversight, best way to put it, when it comes to, the spending of the money. So when she spent $2.2 million in 11 days and, she didn't have to necessarily tell people what that money was spent on or what it went towards because she wasn't required to report it. Even I would raise my eyebrow to that one, and I ain't even got no eyebrows. You get it, right? So, that's kind of where things start to get a little shifty. All right. So the confidential funds, lump sums that can be spent by government agencies without official oversight, were the focus of the parliamentary investigation in late 2023, with the Congress demanding explanation of their use. The House Speaker, who was a close ally of the Marcoses, denied initiating the investigation, but somebody had to figure that out, right? Somebody wanted to know some answers. Tensions escalated when Duterte's confidential funds were completely cut from her office's 2024 budget, while Marcos's own discretionary funds remained untouched. It's all about the money. You're going to cut your VP's money, but keep your money the same. Damn. Yeah, I think that might cause some people to get a little pissed off, but let's keep it pushing. Nonetheless, Duterte publicly reaffirmed her support for Marcos. So in the public eye, she didn't basically show non-support. She still remained supportive of him. Okay. And we're talking about the daughter here, Inday Sara Duterte, not the president, our former president. Analysts say the discord runs deeper than just the budget issues. A person noted that funds were just one of the first breaking points of the dynastic alliance. They go into talking about oligarchs and the private funds and all that good stuff. Remember, if you backtrack a bit prior to the announcement that the unit team had been formed, the former president didn't want his daughter to run with Marcos. Did not want to run with him. He did not want him to be in political alliance. His daughter, to be in political alliance with him. This is the father speaking. The Marcoses' return to power was aided by the Dutertes as the two dynasties built an alliance in running for the 2022 presidential election. If you guys remember the Marcos era prior to Bongbong Marcos Jr. Becoming president, the Marcoses was during the time of martial law. And you remember Imelda Marcos, she is still probably one of the most iconic and pivotal figures in Philippine history. And I even hear some Americans mentioning Imelda Marcos because of how lavish she was, during that time with the shoes and just the lifestyle, her in general, right? They still mention her name as one of those classic icons during that time. Okay. Let's go ahead and get into a little bit more. The recent animosity spilled over to the Duterte family, with former President Duterte's eldest son, Paulo, facing scrutiny for extravagant public spending. On January 28th, tensions erupted at separate rallies. The Dutertes held a rally in Davao that opposed the People's Initiative movement to amend the Constitution. Though iconically, President Duterte, a former president, had pushed for federalism during his own presidency. The MARCOS launched an administration known as the New Philippines, and they wanted to highlight growing divergence between the two dynasties. This event was a revival of sorts of his son's political movement. All right, moving on. Then we start to get into the drug claims. This is where shit starts to get a little interesting to me. At a Davao event, Rodrigo Duterte launched a tirade against the incumbent president, calling him a drug addict. His youngest son also asked for Marcos to resign. But Marcos's response to that was that along the lines of accusing former President Duterte of being a fentanyl user in order to manage his pain. Right. And you guys know how dangerous fentanyl is. I didn't even know that fentanyl was a thing in the Philippines, but I guess I should have known. Right. He ends up saying, and in quote, I think it's and has very serious side effects. And he accused him of taking the drug for a very, very long time. So basically, he was saying that the man was not in his right mind, right? So we talk about the monies, we talk about the drugs, potential drug use, and all this shit. You know, we start to throw bars back and forth between one another, and it becomes a whole spiel. All right. Reading on, it says, on the other hand, somebody noted that the president and vice president need to maintain an appearance of unity for now. Duterte bombarded the news cycle in recent days, reaffirming her support of the Marcos administration, talking about the VP Sarah Duterte, and denying that she had masterminded death squads in Davao, the subject of a looming investigation. All right, ladies and gentlemen, Davao death squad, money, drugs. I mean, the list, ladies and gentlemen, goes on and on and on and on, as we can see. But getting to the nitty gritty of it all, ladies and gentlemen, what does this mean for foreigners? You see, a lot of the issues that are taking place now are between the political parties. None of them have any issues with foreigners coming into country. None of them seem to share any animosity for foreigners bringing their economic dollars to a country like the Philippines. And I do believe that foreigners will continue to be the forefront of, people that they're trying to get to come to the country, right? Via marketing, tourism, and things like that. That's never going to stop. But at the same time, ladies and gentlemen, foreigners, I plead with you to stay yourself out of the political realm. Me, I feel okay to talk about it because I'm not sharing any support for either side. I'm just reading the news as it's being presented and giving an opinion on it, right? I do not show any political alliance to either side. Again, to be honest with you, they're both on the exact same side because they're both the mayor and both the president and vice president, the families respectfully. All right. But I want to leave you with this tidbit of information before I drop the mic and walk away. My father once said something to me that was very, very interesting, and this is something that I want you to take into consideration. I myself have to take this into consideration as well. Bring this up to my wife, and she kind of agreed with it too, considering that she had spent a little bit more time there, before she came over here, she can kind of see how the landscape of the country was going. Doc is Davao to his soul, but there is a strong belief, very, very strong belief amongst my people that once the former president, Rodrigo Duterte, is no longer with us, Davao could become the wild, wild west. Let me say that one more time. When the time comes where the former president is no longer with us, Davao City itself could become the wild, wild west. And that's only because it's his presence, who he is as an individual, and the shit that he's willing to do in order to keep Davao the way that it was. That's the reason why Davao became what it was. Let's call it for what it is. He ruled with an iron fist, right? Let's call it. He did that. And because of that, I myself felt safe. I do not believe that his sons or his daughter carry the same weight as he does. With all due respect, they carry weight, but their weight comes via the family name, right? I don't think that they have it in them to do what that man did to keep Davao safe. We're talking about late night drives, being disguised as a taxi driver, my friend. Think about that for a second. Can you imagine hopping into a taxi 2, 3 o'clock in the morning and it's the mayor, with all due respect, you're a former president, but mayor, Davao City, that's driving you to your destination? I want you to think about that for a second. Think about, I believe, what this man did to go above and beyond to keep that place safe. I do not believe that the energy can be matched by anybody within the family but him. So, although it pains me to say this, because I again am Davao to my soul, and when I get back there and I get to see the landscape, what it is, since the last time I've been there, maybe I can give you guys some information that some further information because I'm actually in it. But I do believe that we have to reconsider Davao City as a place to stay permanently. It's weird for me to say that out loud, but I do believe that it's noteworthy. Because at the same time, ladies and gentlemen, it all sounds good until it ain't good. And that's the only thing I can say. All right. I appreciate y'all locking in, man. I appreciate y'all, paying attention to this video. For those that made it this far, please make sure you like, share, comment, and subscribe. This has been the Good Doc. Y'all know what time it is, man. Time for Good Doc to go and get to getting. Y'all take care, man. Y'all stay blessed. Doc is out. Peace.